Okay, then refuge and generating bodhicitta. Can you put this on screen, please?
我们在荧幕上看到有这个皈依发心的念诵祈请文，那我们先念这个。
Yeah, as it is already in it, but I think this is a time for all of us to reflect on the meaning of these, which is taking refuge in Buddha Dharma Sangha and then generating bodhicitta for the sake of all sentient beings, which means we are doing this teaching session for the sake of all sentient beings to attain Buddhahood.
那大家在荧幕上可以看到这皈依发心的这个念诵文，那就是我们要思考里面的意义是什么，就是我们皈依三宝佛法僧的目的乃至于发这个菩提心的目的呢，就是为了利益众生的缘故呢，我们发愿愿意成佛，证悟正觉，那这个意思呢，就是在其中。
And then refuge and bodhicitta followed by 4 immeasurables and also mandala offering.
那皈依发心之后呢，接下来是要念诵观修这个四无量心。那四无量心过后就是这个供曼达。
三界觉当多吉说南来将诸法罗多大念教所切大业金所尼别所南界多拉偏执的三界如不来说三界觉当多吉说南来将诸法罗多大念教所切大业金所尼别所南界多拉偏执的三界如不来说。Now, third time we are reciting in English.
我们念英文的这一次，这一遍。
In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. By the merit of practicing the paramitas, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. Now the 4 immeasurables.
四无量心。
身见、tham见、dewa dan、dewe judan、tembarai churoshi、dungala dan、dungala jen、judan、talwarai churoshi、dungala meben、dewa dan、midawai churoshi、niring chadan、nidan tak、当用la nebarai churoshi。Then mandala offering.
现在是供曼达。
大些必觉出现没多当，这是领先年的减法的，三界行多密的普瓦耶，这个南大行了，绝不来说。Okay, so we are going to continue from where we left off last week, which is today we will begin with verse number 16.
那我们就继续讲这个上个星期未讲完的那个部分。那我们是从第16句的根本颂那边说起的。
So before actually go into the text, I want to give you a brief explanation of my mind. So here we are talking about guard our mind, right? So what is mind and what does it mean? It needs to be guarded, right? Maybe usually some people, immediately when they hear mind, they always connect the mind with the brain or sometimes heart, right? But that's not the case when we talk about the mind in Buddhism. So this mind is something that is very pervasive to all of our body. There's no particular place where you can say, this is mind or this is where the mind is.
那么呢，还没有进入这个主题之前呢，堪波拉愿意跟我们讲一下什么叫做心，那何谓心？那守护心，如何守护我们的心？守护心是什么意思？有些人一听到这个心的名词的话呢，就只是我们的脑袋，或者说是我们的心脏。那其实这个都不是佛教所说的这个心。那心是广大遍及切除的，你不能够说你指着身体的一个地方说这个就是心的所在地，那不是这个样子的。
So this mind in Buddhism, there are 6 different consciousnesses, right? Eye consciousness and ear consciousness and so forth, of those that are connected with the faculties. And then the 6th one, the last one, is the mental consciousness. So this mind that we are talking about that needs to be guarded, protected, is the 6th mind.
那我们说有6种识嘛，对啊，我们说有6种这个识，眼耳鼻舌身意等等6种。那最后一个就是所谓的意识。那我们要守护的心呢，就是所谓的第6识的这个意识呢，要守护的就是这个。
The other consciousness, like eye consciousness and ear consciousness and so forth, they do not continue according to Buddhism. They are only in this life, whatever body we have. As a human being, then we have eye, we have ear, those faculties. Together with these faculties, when this faculty or the organ meets with its object, for example, eye meeting with form, right? Then it generates together, then there is the result of eye consciousness. So therefore, it is only for this body or this lifetime. After that, this eye consciousness will not continue to the next life.
所以呢，其他的这个5识，这个意识之外，其他的5识，比如说眼识、耳识等等这些呢，它是无法在这个生命的我们的这个生命结束之后再延续的。比如说我们这个身体现在有这个6根的6种器官嘛，对不对？因为这个6根呢，当6根和这个6尘相遇的时候，比如说眼识眼根跟这个色尘遇在一起的时候，就有眼识出现。那过后呢，就是我们这个生命了结之后呢，这个眼识就不复存在了。所以我们所说的第6识意识之外的这5识呢，我们死了之后就不再存续了。
So this 6th mental consciousness is continuing from this life to next life, and also the mental consciousness that we have right now is the continuity of our past life's mental consciousness as well. So that is the reason why we have to make this mind that we have, or the mental consciousness that we have, the state that we have right now, it's very important to improve it, right? If it is only for this life, then there's no point to improve, because then after that you don't take it with you. But however, since this is continuing, there is all the reason to train it and to make it better.
所以我们的这个第6识，也就是我们的心呢，我们的意识呢，也就是我可以带到下一世去的。我们死了之后可以带到下一世去的。那我们这一世有的意识呢，也是从前世带过来的。那我们这一世死之后，也会把这个意识呢，无限的延续下去。所以呢，我们就是必须要改善它的这个状态，改善它的这个境界。要不然这个意识第6识如果无法带到下一世去的话呢，那我们改变它也没有多大的意义跟这个功用嘛。 所以因为这个意识能够延续下去，所以我们必须要改变它，通过修心守护我们的心的方式呢，来使它越来越好。
So the definition or the defining characteristic of this mental consciousness or the mind in the Sakya Pandita's the logic text is called Pramana Yukti Nidhi, or the treasury of value cognition, where it says the definition of the mind is awareness, something that is aware, something that we are aware. Why? How can we be aware? Because we have the mind. So that is the definition given by Sakya Pandita.
关于我们的这个心呢，或者关于我们的第六意识或者第六意识呢，萨迦班智达在这个 Brahmana 的论点里面有说，那个心这个意识呢，什么叫做心或者意识呢？能够有觉知的，能够有所觉知，能够有所知的这个意识心呢，就称其为意识或者是心。
And then nature of this mind is mentioned in so many different texts as luminous or the clarity. So something that is clarity that we can always relate because we experience it, right? Because we have clarity, we have luminosity because we have the mind. So that is the nature. So therefore, when you try to identify, where is my mind? What does mind look like? So then, identification of that is the when you experience this clarity or the awareness or the luminosity. So that is the indication that we have mind. Our mind is there.
关于心，我们已经说了。那现在要说的是心的本性。那心的本性，它是光明的，或者说它是明晰的。当我们觉知到这个了了分明的这种境况的时候，我们就体会到了心的这个本性，也就是自性本性，它是光明，光明遍一切处的。所以，当我们要找到这个心在什么地方，心的形象为何的时候，就是明光一片的，它就是一种觉知。所以因为有这种觉知，因为有这种光明，所以我们知道我们是有心的存在的。
So now you can see this mind that we are talking about, which needs to be protected, right? Because the reason is, as I said, this mind, and this mind is really welcoming. This, the nature of this mind is welcoming to any guest that it, comes by. So that means this mind is very vulnerable, right? Vulnerable to be manipulated by the guests. And that guest is also called the mental factors.
那呢，我们要守护的就是我们的心这个心意识嘛。之所以要守护这个心，为什么呢？因为这个心的门是大开的，那不管谁进来呢，他都是无任欢迎的。正因为如此呢，我们被所有入住的宾客呢，我们都牢牢掌控着这个心的境界。所以它向谁开放呢？这个来宾就是所谓的心所，我们的心里面所依的、所估取的对象，是称之为心所。
Okay, so that is why we always say mind training. Mind training meaning if you yourself, each one of us, let our mind, kind of associate with some of those mental factors that are positive, like loving, kindness, and in this particular case, mindfulness, and basically, those good things, loving, kindness, compassion, generosity, all of those, and then block or protect mind from inviting the what do you call that, the unfavorable guests, such as jealousy, desire, anger, and so forth and so on. And that, if you keep doing it in this way, not letting your mind influenced by these negative emotions, but mind, in the state of the mind, which let this state of mind become more and more positive, such as more generous than yesterday, more giving than yesterday, more kind of understanding than yesterday, more caring than yesterday. That means then you are protecting mind from going with the negative emotions, and then also your mindfulness and the vigilant of introspection is working. Working, or in other words, it's inactive for your mind doing what needs to be done.
然后呢，这所谓的守护我们的心啊，那第一个要求是说呢，我们让我们的这个心不去跟这个恶的心所，这个善要去跟这个善的心所、正面的心所呢去相应。比如说，让我们的这个心是充满了慈悲心啦、正念啦、正知等等这些的一切。那总之让我们心充满了光明跟好的善的心所。那不要去邀请这个不善的恶的心所，比如说是妒忌心啦，比如说是嗔怒啦，比如说是贪婪啊、贪欲等等的，然后继续不断的这样熏修，继续不断的这样做的话，让我们的心呢不受这个恶的或者是不善的这个心所呢所影响，然后充满一大堆善的心所、善的念头比如说我们可以比昨天更为慷慨大方，比昨天更为关怀他人，比昨天更为的这个乐善好施等等这些善的心所都充满在我们的心中的话呢，这个就是所谓的守护我们的心田或者守护我们的心地。那也就是说呢，不去跟这个恶的心所相应，那我充满善的好的心所，比如说正念觉知等等的，让他们起这个好的正面的这个作用。那这个就是如实守护我们的心的主要的内容。
So our mind is like a blank canvas, and then the mindfulness and introspection, these two are employed by you and by me, by any one of us, employ them to make sure that on this blank canvas, only the positive pictures are to be drawn, not negative, not the evil spirits, things like that, to be drawn on these canvas. So this is the mindfulness is making sure, reminding us again and again, this is the good thing that you have to accept. This is the bad thing that you have to accept, right? Then introspection is making sure that this happens. So without the introspection, the mindfulness alone will not be able to, not be able to carry on and achieve our goal.
所以呢，我们的心就好像一个空白的帆布、一个画布一样的。那我们的正念正知就是能够确保我们好好的应用适当的颜料呢，在这一块空白的画布、帆布上呢，去填补应该有的画面，就是好的做一些好的漂亮的画，就是画出一些美丽庄严的风景，而不是画一些恶魔、恶鬼、恶灵的等等这些负面的、不好的这种画作。所以呢，这个所谓的这个正念呢，就是确保我们所做的善的，我们去做去取；那不善的，我们不去跟它相应。那正知呢，这个觉知心呢，就是确保，我们能够不去跟这个不去跟不善的相应，而跟善的继续的相应下去，能够确保这样发生的就是我们的觉知，我们的正知力。那没有这个正知力，只有正念的话呢，我们是无法确保正知正念能够达到它的目的的。所以也有正念，再加上这个正觉或者是正知呢，才能够达到这个守护我们的心的目的。
So please then keep this in your mind, like clearly, what is mind? Mind is clarity. It's like a blank canvas, right? And then with the help of mindfulness and introspection, we are letting all of the positive mental factors to come in and be with the mind. And then in this way, our mind is now maybe influenced by these positive thoughts, right? And then also the mindfulness and the introspection are blocking, not letting the negative emotions to come in. So this way, then we can see if we are able to do that, if we are practicing these things well, then you can see from today to tomorrow that you cannot believe yourself that, oh, this time, even somebody did this to me, I didn't get angry, that I used to get angry very easily. So now, because now your antenna, the two antennas of mindfulness and introspection are up and running. So that is why now you are making progress, right? So this is how you can judge yourself, like whether the mind training or this guarding the mind with the help of using basically, employing mindfulness introspection is working or not.
所以呢，心呢，我们必须要明白，心的本性就是光明一片的。可是心它的本身是一片空白的。那我们必须要以这个正念正知来守护着它，也就是说，要让我们的这个心呢，跟这个积极的正面的心所同在，就充满好的念头等等之类的这些。那不去跟这个负面的心所相应，不让这个负面的心所能够进来。那看看我们能够这样不断的熏习，不断的修多久？也就是说，比如说从今天到明天的这个时段呢，我们可以觉察一下啊，好像过去有人这样讲我，我就会生气。可是今天这个人骂我，我却一点也不感到生气了。我就能够控制我自己的这个心。为什么呢？因为我们这两条天线，正念正知的天线呢，已经起的作用，已经在那边摆上了，然后起了这个作用，所以我们觉得我们能够自我观察着我们的修行有进步了，这个就是修行或者守护自信的有进步的这个征兆，也这个就是正念正知是否在我们的生活中，我们的修行上发挥作用与否的这种判别。
Okay, so now we go to the actual text, verse number 16.
我们来到这个文本，根本颂是这个第16个。
The knower of reality has said that even if recitation and physical hardships are practiced for long periods of time, they will be meaningless if the mind is distracted elsewhere.
这边根本颂是这样念的：虽久习念诵，急于众苦行，然欣赏他处佛说彼无益。
So this is actually on the perfection of concentration or the meditation. So as last time, everything, all the practices are mainly the mind. Not outside, thing. Everything is on mind. Even the generosity is not out there. How many people, become rich, or how many people that you can actually help them, or the poor people, help them to become rich. That's not the generosity that we are talking about. The perfection of generosity means when your mind is perfected with this giving, which means now you can let go of everything, you can give everything. That is the perfection of generosity. Similarly, the perfection of meditation is also mind. So that is why if your mind is not in tune with meditative concentration, then the other things such as recitation and even the practice of austerity with your body and speech and so forth and so on, then they are useless. In other words, even those things will not work if your mind is not concentrated enough or mind is already distracted.
所以这边呢所说的这一句根本所讲的就是我们的禅定度嘛。那禅定度跟其他的这个六度波罗蜜的其他的波罗蜜都是一样，一切都是唯心造、唯心所现的比如说之前我们所说过的这个布施嘛，布施不是在于外头你能够使多少贫穷人变得富足、变得富裕起来，而是在我们的心里面呢，心里面的功德有没有把我们要给的东西真正的放下，真正的布施或者是付出出去。那这样才是真正的内心的布施。那只要内心的布施度圆满了就是圆满了整个布施。那不是从来不是外在的事情。所以同样这边所说的禅定的波罗蜜呢，这个禅定也是跟我们的心有相应的。那一切的佛法的修持没有离开我们这个心。那如果我们的心跟这个禅定不能够同步同调的话，那不管我们这边所说的，不管我们做多少的念诵，或者做多少的苦行，以身口意方面呢，有做多少的功课跟用功的话呢，但是我们的心只要是散乱的，没有这个定力的，无法跟禅定相应、同步同调的话，那是一点用处都没有的。
So this is actually taught by Buddha himself, and he taught this in the sutra called Distillation of Concentration, where he said, he said, "Oh bhikshus or the monks, oh monks, when you do something, some kind of practice such as austerity, practice of austerity with your body and speech, and also recitation and so forth and so on. But if you do it with the mind distracted somewhere else, particularly to the, what do you call the objects of desire, if your mind is distracted to that, then that kind of practice will have no bear any positive fruits."
这个是佛说的这个话。那佛陀他在一个跟禅定相关的这个经典里面也这样说，他说比丘也就是这是佛的弟子，比丘说，如果你做某种行门，就是某种法门的修持，比如说是苦行比如说身口意种种的这些行门，或者说是念诵等等的话，如果你是以散乱心去做这一切的话呢，特别是以散乱心的这个对象，攀缘的对象是贪婪的物质，贪婪的对象物的话，那你绝对不会得到任何的功德，或者不会得到善的这个果实。
And also in the Paramita Sutra, Buddha said, anything you do with the distracted mind, then you cannot achieve anything for yourself. And if that is the case, then let alone, through this kind of activities, no way that one can achieve anything for the benefit of others.
在般若波罗蜜多的典故这个经典里面也有云如果你散乱心做种种的修持的话呢，你连自己都得不到所谓的功德，更何况说要去利乐一切如母诸有情呢？
Now the verse number 17 is on the perfection of wisdom, prajna, right? So even those who wish to find happiness and overcome misery will wander with no aim nor meaning if they do not comprehend the secret of the mind, the paramount significance of dharma.
第17个根本颂讲的是般若，或者说是我们的这个佛法的不共的智慧。那是这样念的：若不知此心，奥秘法中尊，求乐或避苦，无益终漂泊。
So basically it is saying that again, the perfection of wisdom is also mind, right? When your mind become perfected with wisdom, then that is the perfection of wisdom, not out there, something that you think of obtaining it. There's no such thing. So here, particularly, the perfection of wisdom means when you realize the secret of your mind, secret of our mind, if we realize that, that is the perfection of wisdom. What is the secret? The secret of the mind is the emptiness, empty aspect of the mind. Mind does not come from somewhere. It does not abide some place, and it does not cease or at any time. So these kind of free from all these elaborations, that is the secret. So if you know that secret, then that is the perfection of wisdom. But although we do have that with us, this empty aspect and the clarity I mentioned before, but we don't recognize it, right? So that is why it's called hidden, it's called secret.
然后这个般若波罗蜜，这是智慧般若波罗蜜呢，那这个也是没有离开我们的心的啊，就是没有离开我们的心的。那所谓的心圆满的话呢，那我们这个般若度就因此而得到圆满。所以这个智慧圆满从来不是外来或者说是外在的一种事物或者现象，因为内在的修正呢其实是无修无证的，不是从外面得到某一样东西或者是证到某一个境界的。那什么叫做了悟这个心的奥秘或者心的秘密呢？心的秘密本身就是指它的空性，它空无自性的这个相貌，就是心的秘密。那心的秘密是什么呢？就是空性所说的，它是不来无住无去的，它是超越一切时空的标签跟细论的。当你能够安住并且了悟到这个心的秘密的时候，你就圆证了这个智慧的般若蜜多。那这样的话，那虽然我们的心，我们知道之前所说的心的本性也是明也是空，也是空明不二，但是我们无法了悟到心的空性和空明不二。那因此这方面而言，心的自性本性对我们来说呢，是一种秘密的，不可被了知的。所以因为还未开显出它的秘密，所以我们称之为它的奥秘，或者说是心的秘密。
Okay, again here, the secret of the mind, right? Emptiness, or in other words, the free from arising, abiding, and cessation means, I want to emphasize this, means on the ultimate level, okay? Don't confuse this. It doesn't mean that, mind doesn't come from somewhere. Mind doesn't abide somewhere. Mind doesn't kind of stop or cease functioning somewhere. It doesn't mean on a relative level or on the conventional level. Conventional level, as I said before, our mind can be manipulated by any of these mental factors. So that means, for example, I didn't have a generous mind yesterday, but due to some teachings or some kind of very positive influence, today I became somewhat very, generously thinking mind. So, so that is why on the conventional level, it has, that new mind that I had, this came from some, influence by some other things. But here it is talking about the secret of the mind means ultimately, on the ultimate level, we always think the mind is something. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
所以这边呢，所说的这个心的这个秘密呢，也就是说这个心的本性呢，它是不生不灭、无住的、无住无相的。那不要误会呢，这边所指的是心的圣义地，就是绝对的究竟的真理方面。那就相对而言，相对的层次而言，就是世俗地而言呢，心它的本身还是有生有住有灭的，所以不要把这个世俗地跟圣义地给搞混淆了。那因为为什么相对上来说心是有生有住有灭呢？因为我们的心我们还是被一大堆的心所跟对象所影响的。比如说昨天我们认为我们自己不够慷慨大方，不知道什么叫做布施，可是今天我们可能听了一些教法啦，心跟这个善良的正面的心所相应的时候呢，那我们今天比昨天更为慷慨乐施， 慷慨大方，或者是乐善好施。那所以有昨天跟今天的心的不同，心在这边是有相有住有灭的，所以这是相对层面而言。但是就这个心的究竟的实相或者它的奥秘而言的话呢，它在究竟的这个空的义理上呢，是绝对无住无相无灭的。所以这个相对跟绝对世俗跟圣义谛，我们要把它两个给分清楚。
So yeah, it is on the ultimate level. On the ultimate level, if you think that the mind is something permanently existing thing, that's wrong. So mind does not come from anywhere. You cannot trace its origin, and it's free from all of the elaborations, right? And particularly the secret of the mind means the mind having no self. It is selfless. So if you realize that the nature of the mind being selfless, then you realize the secret, you understand the secret, right? So then talking about the selfless, there are two different selflessnesses: the selflessness of a person, or personal selflessness, and selflessness of phenomena, right? So as a Mahayana practitioner or the Bodhisattvas, they have to realize the selflessness of both. So if Bodhisattva realizes the selflessness of both, then that Bodhisattva has realized or understood the secret of the mind.
所以呢，这边呢，我们说这个心的这个究竟的它的本质啊，它是真正在究竟的这个地义的这个空义上呢，它本来就是在究竟的这个层面上呢，就是超越一切细论的，超越一切标签的，它就是不生不住不灭的。那这是究竟的实相，也就是所谓的无我。那了悟到这个真实空义的无我的话，这是了悟到了心的本性。了悟到心的本性，就是了悟到心的奥秘。那身为一个大乘菩萨的话，要了悟两种无我，一个是人无我跟法无我。那人无我跟法我都通彻的了悟证悟之后呢，这个才是所谓的达到了这个大乘菩萨道的真正的对心的奥秘的了悟跟掌握。
Yeah. So the secret, right? Two selflessnesses, and the Sharvakas and the Patiga Buddhas have realized some part of this secret of the mind, which is because they realize the selflessness of a person. However, they have not realized the selflessness of phenomena. Therefore, from the Mahayana point of view, I want to emphasize it. From the Mahayana point of view, they are the practitioners who have not realized the complete, secret of the mind, only half, right? So in other words, when you don't have the complete understanding of the realization of the secret of the mind, then even if you are searching, looking for the happiness of the nirvana, and also looking for looking for the opportunity to eradicate suffering, the misery of the samsara, then you are just doing it for no reason or meaninglessly you are wandering, because you cannot achieve these goals because you have not realized the secret of the mind.
所以呢，这种唯有达证这两种无我的境界，才称之为这个菩萨道的真正的掌握了或者证悟到了心的这个奥秘。至于这个圆觉乘跟这个声闻乘的这个行者呢，只是了悟到一部分的这个心的秘密而已，因为他们只通达或者是了悟到这个人无我，而无法完全的实证这个法无我。所以从这个大乘马哈亚纳的角度而言呢，他们的证悟是不够完整的，也是他们只是在某一部分 只掌握了一半的或者一部分的心的奥秘而已。所以呢，即便是这样的声闻缘觉乘的行者，即便他们声称已经掌握了或者证入了这个涅槃的大乐，或者他们不断的找机会的去除这个轮回的一切的苦恼，但他们还是在这个轮回界中流转。为什么呢？因为他们还没有达证这两种无我，特别是这个法无我方面呢，他们是还无法掌握到心的奥秘的。因此就这样而言呢，就这个大乘的佛法的角度而言，他们是不能够达到通证两种无我的这个修行的目的的。
So therefore, Shantideva is now instructing that we must guard our mind.
所以这个吉天菩萨就要告诫我们说，我们必须一定要懂得如何去守护我们的心。
So verse number 18.
接下来看第十八个偈颂。
So this being so, I shall hold and guard my mind well. Without the discipline of guarding the mind, what use are many other disciplines?
第18个根本颂是这样念的：故吾当善持善护持道心，持此护心戒，何劳或其余。
So the mind is the source of all the good things in life and also all the bad things in life, right? So therefore, we must always careful that whatever influences the mind that brings misery and unfavorable situation, we shouldn't let it come. And then make sure that since we are seeking for happiness, even for just kind of mundane life, make sure that those mental factors that can influence the mind to bring forth those good results or favorable results to into our mind to be associated with those mental factors. So making sure this is how you can guard, protect your mind.
所以呢，我们知道呢，我们佛法告诉我们说，心是一切的或苦或乐或善或恶的一切的泉源。所以呢，那些能够所以我们一定要好好的守护我们的自心相续。那些能够为我们带来忧愁苦恼的心所，我们不要跟它相应，不要把它引进我们的心门里面。那些能够带来善的、快乐的、幸福的、这个乐果的、正面的这种境界的心所，虽然只是世俗层面而已，但我们也要无任欢迎它，也要跟它同在，跟它相应。所以这个就是守护自心的诀窍。
So here talking about discipline, right? So disciplining our mind, discipline of guarding our mind is the most important thing here. As long as we have the discipline of guarding our mind, then we don't have to worry too much about other disciplines. But if you are busy with thinking about a lot of other disciplines, how to, put on certain robes on certain occasions, or how to, carry on your own body and your speech and so forth and so on, concentrating on these disciplines, yet the most important discipline that you have not paid attention on, which is guarding your mind, then it is useless with other disciplines that you are really spending your precious time on would be just meaningless, and that will not bring any kind of favorable results that you are seeking for.
所以这根本上所讲的就是我们戒行，或者说是这个戒律嘛。那戒律只是守心为第一个条件的，也就是说，主要的戒律就是要守护我们这条心戒，守护我们这个心。那如果这个心守不好的话，你所在乎的其实戒律的其他的，比如外向或者说是细节，比如说你要穿这个僧袍怎么穿啊，在什么地方应该要怎么样表现自己啊，言行举止上、语言上、念头上应该怎么样的能够谨慎啊、戒慎惶恐这些东西。那可是你最重要的这个心戒没有守好，没有守护好你这个心的话，那你的所作所为只是一种时间上的浪费。 那也是没有意义的，也是不会得到佛法上的功德的。
So next is how to protect or guard our mind, and so it's given with the example here, or parallel with the wound, how to protect, how we protect our wound, right? So that is the verse number 19 here. Just as I would be attentive and careful of a wound when amidst a bustling, uncontrolled crowd, so I should always guard the wound of my mind when dwelling among harmful people.
那第19个根本颂就是说，我们必须好像的守护我们的身体受伤了，有疮发生的时候呢，我们必须要如守护这个疮一般的守护我们的心。那根本颂是这样念的：如处乱世乱众中，人皆慎护疮，只身恶人群，常护此心伤。
So here, Shantideva is equating our mind with a wound. So we all know that if you have a wound, that you be very attentive or protecting or very careful about not, injuring it more, right? So therefore, particularly if you are in the midst of many people, you always carefully protect your wound. So similarly, that the way to protect our mind or to guard our mind is like protecting the wound and the protecting from unruly people, right? So here we are protecting, Shantideva is asking us to protect our mind from people who could be a cause, who could be cause for, making our mind unruly and maybe slipped away from discipline, slipped away from what needs to be done right. So therefore, it is like a wound that we should protect.
所以呢，这个吉天菩萨Shantideva就是告诉我们说，那我们的心就好像这个伤口或者是有痔疮一样呢，就是要好好的守护着它。因为当你伤口的时候，你就必须要守护这个伤口，不让它更加的痛。那同样的，你在多人的地方，你更要守护这个伤口，因为你跟多人摩擦在一起的话，你更加的容易会受伤，然后这伤口会更加的痛。所以同样的，这个Shantideva吉天菩萨在这边告诉我们说，我们的心也是同样的，我们必须要守护我们的心呢，以免受到这个恶友，就是不善的朋友的染污。因为这些不善的朋友就是能够让我们的心变成狂野的人，让我们的心失去了他的正轨、正道的这些不好的朋友，让我们的心不去守戒的、不去行这个正道的朋友呢，我们通通要远离这些恶友呢，就是守护我们的心，也是守护我们的这个伤、这个疮最好的方法。
Next, furthermore on this example of the wound, and verse number 20. And if I'm careful of a wound through fear of it being slightly hurt, then why do I not guard the wound of my mind through fear of being crushed by the mountains of hell?
然后在这边第20个根本颂就说给一个更具足的例子，更明显的例子是这样念的：若惧小疮痛尤甚护创伤，未三甲回则何不护心伤。
So here, Shantideva is giving us reason. It is obvious that we all know that if you have a wound, then we will be very careful of protecting it from unruly people, right? But if, even if you are not careful, what would happen would be just slightly hurting that wound further. That's all. That means a little bit suffering, a little bit of pain for this life, right? Even then, so we carefully protect it. But if we don't guard or protect our mind, a wound-like mind, then the consequence or the result of that not guarding our mind would be, in the future, we will be born in the hell realm where a hell mountain, a mountain like hell can crush us in between. So therefore, this is the main reason that right now we have the chance to do it right, so that in the future, we don't have to suffer this kind of pain crushing between two mountains of hell.
所以呢，这边这个吉田菩萨香利法就给我们这个很好的理由，也就是说，这个我们要守护在恶人群中呢，要保护我们的这个疮的这个伤口。那要不小心的话，被他们碰撞到的话呢，那你顶多只是一点点痛而已，有一点的不方便，有一点的不舒服。那我们还会在这个恶人的群中呢，去守护好我们这个伤口。但是如果你这一次不守护好你这一颗心的话，那会导致一个很严重的后果，就是来世堕入地狱道的时候呢，你就会被各种各样的苦恼逼迫，比如说好像大山呢夹住你，那使你感到非常的痛苦莫名。所以你知道了未来有这样的结果呢，你更加要小心，在这一世呢，好好的守护住你的心。那这样的话才能够避免来日投身到地狱道中去呢，所能够承受的未来的种种的，比如说被大山夹住的这些苦不堪言的这种激烈的这个痛苦。
So next is if we are able to use mindfulness and introspection in a proper way, then we don't have to even worry, even if we are in the midst of all those unruly people and so on. So that's the verse number 21, where it said, should I behave in such a way as this, then whether among harmful people or even in the midst of women, the steady effort to control myself will not decline. So I just want to have one more note here. So this one, or even in the midst of women, I think we should say opposite sex people, okay? So it applies to both women and men.
所以这边呢，就是告诉我们说，如果那第21根本颂是这样念的：行为若如诗，众住恶人群，益处女人处，群律终不退。那这边天波要告诉我们说，这位所谓的女人国或者是女人的地方，应该持平而言呢，应该是属于异性对女生而言就是男生，对男生而言就是女生，就是异性比较妥当，在这边的解释。
So should I behave in such a way as this, meaning given that if we are practicing properly in terms of protecting or guarding our mind, utilizing the mindfulness and the introspection. So that means, behave in such a way as this, that refers to that. So if you are already okay, your mind already protected by these two helpers, mindfulness and introspection, then you don't really have to worry about, even if you are in the midst of people who could, entice you to give rise to negative emotions, and this particularly the man or woman, meaning referring to those ordained monks or nuns, for example. Those ordained monks, of course, if a monk kind of is in the midst of attractive women, of course, there is this tendency of giving rise to negative thoughts, right? However, if that monk is already well kind of protected with mindfulness and introspection, then it doesn't really matter whether you are in the midst of attractive women or not. Similarly, nuns, if you are in the middle of attractive man or not, if your mind is already protected by mindfulness and introspection, then you don't really have to worry.
所以这边呢，所说的行为若如实，这个所谓的行为若如实，所指的是，如果你会继续的用正知正念来守护你的心的话，然后众住恶人群，即便是你处于这个 很凶恶的人情间，然后亦或异性处，就是讲，一般上来说是说出家是男众的话，如果他以这个正知正念守护，能够好好的守好自己的心的话呢，即便他处于一大堆的美女的群中呢，他的心也是如如不动的，他不会起这个贪欲的烦恼。所以换一个，除了比丘之外，那我们说到比丘尼或者说是这个女性的出家众来而言的话，如果他能够好好的守护，他以正知正念来守护他的心相续的话，行为若如是，那这样的话，即便他是处于一大堆很英俊好看的男人的情中呢，他的心也是不为所动，他终究不会，他也会自在，他也不需要感到忧惧跟害怕。所以这边所指的就是这个意思。
And then verse number 22, it is better to be without wealth, honor, body, and a livelihood, and it is better to let other virtues deteriorate, rather than ever to let the virtues of the mind decline.
第22个根本颂是这样念的：无灵施利养，滋生众活及一灵施于善，终不寻此心。
So this means from the Bodhisattva practitioner's point of view, then, losing your mind, then you lose everything. So that's why Shantideva is saying that if you lose wealth, no problem as a Bodhisattva. If you lose your honor, your status, your respect, right? And also even to the point that if you lose your body and your livelihood, but these can, be not really like a determining factor of what it is going to be like in the future lives, right? However, if you lose your mind, the virtue of the mind, then you lose everything. So that means then you go lower and lower to the lower realms. But losing other things like wealth and so forth, it doesn't mean that you will, because of the losing of them, will result in the lower realms. That's not the case.
所以这边所指的是菩萨道的行者应该要注意的一些关键点跟这个地方。也就是身为菩萨道的行者的话，你可以失去一切，但是你千万不可以失去你的心，守护你的心。那失去了正知正念，以正知正念来守护自己的心的话呢，你就等同失去了一切的功德。那夏利列瓦吉田菩萨说，你可以失去所有的财富，所有的这个名闻利养，所有的这些荣耀，所有的地位，所有的这个别人对你的尊敬，乃至于你可以失去你的身体、你的生计赚钱的功能和你的财富地位等等这些。这个对你来生的功德一点增损也没有。可是万一你失去了你的心，失去了你的心的正知正念的守护的话，你所有的功德都会丧失殆尽。那这样的话，一旦堕落的话，就是很这个招致悲惨的这个苦果。所以呢，最主要的还是不给丧失这个守护自心的功德，其他的一切都是次要的。
Okay, now next is in order to guard your mind, how to utilize mindfulness and introspection.
那下来就是如何以这个正知正念呢，来好好的守护好自己，我们的心相续，我们这个心。
So verse number 23, O you who wish to guard your minds, I beseech you with folded hands, always exert yourselves to guard mindfulness and alertness, or the introspection.
那下来就是23个根本颂是这样念的：合掌诚劝请，益护自心者，恒力恒守护正念，智力恒守护正念以正知。
So the many reasons have given earlier, right? Why we need to protect our mind, guard our mind, and the way to do it is utilizing mindfulness and introspection properly and also consistently, which is very important. Even when you see that you lose wealth and so forth, don't be distracted by that, but focus on protecting your mind or the virtues of the mind. When it declines or it kind of deteriorates, then you have not achieved your goal. So therefore, the usage of the mindfulness introspection all the time without any kind of break is the most essential thing here.
这边所讲的，因为之前我们所说的关于这个修心或者守护我们心的方面呢，已经讲了很多的理由，特别是如何以这个正知正念呢，能够正确的、持续的、不断的熏习，那去让我们的心不至于散乱，即便能够失去一些的这个名闻利养一切的外在的这个功德跟这个钱财福利呢，我们也在所不惜的要守护好我们这个心，因为心一旦退失了它的功德的话，我们的就达不到了修持的目的，我们就退失了一切的功德。所以这边告诉我们说，直立恒守护正念与正知，就是要很努力的、持续不断的熏修再熏修，要很长的去好好的守护好我们的这个心。那守护心的方法是什么呢？就是要以正念的正直力呢，来好好的管好、掌握好我们这个心。
So this verse number 23, where he says, with folded hands, I beseech you, right? I beseech you with folded hands. In the commentary, it says, the Shantideva, with his folded hands, he's beseeching each one of us to guard our mind with mindfulness and introspection. And here, it is said in the commentary that it's, the Shantideva's message is such a profound that he is paying respect to this message rather than respect to us, okay? So that's the interpretation of some commentaries here.
那尽管这个根本上说是合掌曾劝请义护自行者等等这些，这边所指的可能是有人会以为说是Shantideva吉田菩萨说，像这个听这个根本颂或者是听这个教法的人呢，向我们合掌，叫我们要好好的以正念自知来守护我们的心相续。可是，在一个释论里面就有这样说，是吉田菩萨其实不是向这个读者或者是这个修持这个法门的人去合掌，而是向这个讯息，因为这个讯息非常的重要，也就是说义护自心者直立恒守护正念正知，这个讯息是非常的重要。所以呢，吉田菩萨Shantideva对这个讯息，对这个教法合掌问讯这样子，所以他们曾劝请的就是这个文句的最主要的含义在这边。
So this verse number 23 is actually like a introductory kind of request for all of us to guard our mind with mindfulness introspection. And then 24 onwards is the detailed instructions on how to guard our mind with mindfulness and introspection.
所以这个23个根本颂呢，主要是一种新的引介就是吉田菩萨通过群劝这样的一种劝请呢，告诫我们必须要好好守护我们的心相续。然后24根本颂以后呢，就是很详细的告诉我们如何守护我们自心相续的方法跟诀窍。
So verse 24 onwards is talking about if you do not have introspection or you don't use introspection, then what would be the fault? What would be the consequence or negative consequence of not utilizing it, right? So that's why the verse number 24 here, people who are disturbed by sickness have no strength to do anything useful. Likewise, those whose minds are disturbed by confusion have no strength to do anything wholesome.
所以这边就告诉我们说，如果你没有办法以正知正念来守护我们的心相续的话，那个过患、那个负面的结果会是什么？所以这个根本说是这样念的：生己所困者，无力为善业；如是惑扰心，无力成善业。
So here it is saying that people who are sick with just ordinary sickness, you name it, then you don't have the energy, right? Your body doesn't function the way you want to utilize it. Since you don't have any energy, therefore, you cannot perform any kind of useful things with this kind of disease or the sickness. Similarly, when our mind is not intact with the mindfulness and introspection ready to jump, in other words, if our mind is lacking with these two things, that means our mind is already distracted. Because without these two as a guarding kind of components here, then that means our mind has already invited those uninvited guests, right? Like negative emotions. So that's why then even if we put our effort into practicing generosity or patience or whatever, without this mindfulness and introspection, then all the practice will be useless.
所以呢，这一边呢，就是告诉我们说，如果你生病了，就是一般的大小疾病了，不管是什么病都好，那你的身体变得乏力，就是没有精气神，就是没有那个力度呢去做应该要做的事情啊，起居饮食都不能够好好的照顾自己。所以同样，当我们的心生病的时候，那心生病的时候，就是所谓的我们无法以这个正念觉知、正念和正知来守护好我们这个心。那心是散乱的。心充满了一大堆不要的这个宾客，比如说是种种的烦恼、贪嗔痴慢疑这些的话，那我们的心力是退散中，或是没有一点心力的。那没有心的力量的话呢，那你即便你去做一些佛法的行持、修持，比如说是布施啊、持戒等等这些呢，它都不会达到修持的目的的。也就是说，它是没有所谓的佛法的功德的，因为你的心力是非常的薄弱的。
So verse number 25,
第25个
whatever has been learned, contemplated and meditated upon by those whose minds lack introspection, just like water in a leaking vase, will not be retained in their memory.
然后第25个根本说是这样念的：心无正知者，闻思修所得，如漏瓶中水，不复住正念。
So this means without introspection, then even you have developed some kind of wisdom through learning, through contemplation on whatever you learn, and even to the point of meditating upon whatever the conclusion that you made out of this contemplation. Because the introspection is not there, mindfulness is not there, that means most likely even this kind of practice or the wisdom that you gain would be tainted. It's already defiled by negative mental emotions, right? So that is why since it is defiled, since it is kind of not pure, that means it does not remain in the mind, in your memory for long. So it will be gone soon. So it will be just in vain, basically, developing this kind of wisdom without the introspection.
所以这边就说，如果你的心相续中没有能够升起这个很好的持续的正知和正念的话，即便是通过听闻、反复的思维以及禅定等等呢，所获得的一些少许的般若智慧的话，那即便你是有这些般若智慧的功德的话，那你的功德也会好像这个瓶中有漏掉有这个洞口的瓶水，或者是受到染污，受到一些烦恼的染污，因为你的心无法以正知正念守护的话呢，你会跟这个烦恼的心所相应，那烦恼心所是不纯净的，就是不好的。那这样的话，你少许的功德，少许的般若功德也会如这个瓶中有漏洞的水一样呢，慢慢就会退失或者是退散，然后不再存在。所以你通过闻思修所得到的少许的般若功德和正量呢，都会慢慢的退失，乃至于消失于无形无踪之间。
So these kinds of knowledge or the wisdom that you gain without the introspection is then, Shantideva used this, it's like a leaking vase. So you have a vase, right? And that the vase has a hole in the bottom. So then no matter how much good water that you pour into this vase, it will not remain there. It will come out. It will leak out, right? Similarly, without the introspection, even if you develop knowledge or the wisdom through learning, through contemplation, through meditation, but these knowledge or the wisdom will not last long. It will not remain in the memory because it's like a leaking vase. It will go away. It will leak out.
所以如果没有正知正念的话呢，吉田菩萨就告诉我们说，那就好像这个瓶底有这个洞口，那瓶底有洞口，不管你倒多好的水，倒多少的水进去里面，比如说是甘露水也好，那它不能够在其中安住，它迟早会流失掉，完全流漏掉的一干二净。那同样的，如果你的心中无正知无正念的话呢，即便你通过这个闻思修所得到的少许的般若正量给功德，那也因为它有如这个漏瓶中水的话呢，它也无法安住，或者安住一回的话也无法长久。这样的话，你所有闻思修所得到的般若正量跟功德的，都完全的退失或者散失掉了。
Okay, next verse number 26 is on without the introspection, even the moral discipline will be then useless.
所以第26个呢，就是众信复多闻呢，就是即便你这个戒行呢，也是无用的。
So even those who have much learning, faith, and willing perseverance will become defiled by a moral fault due to the mistake of lacking introspection.
这边是众信复多闻呢，速速群精进，然因无正知，终然犯堕垢。
So in other words, no matter how much qualities you have, particularly in relation to your moral discipline, such as you have had a lot of learning, you have listened to a lot of teachings and studied a lot, and also you have developed faith or the devotion, and also you are very diligent with your physical discipline, like how to behave, how to carry on your body, speech, and so forth and so on. But without the introspection, these kinds of moral discipline will also be a tainted one. So it will not bear positive result.
所以呢，这边说呢，即便是你累积了很多佛法上的功德，比如说你多闻好学，比如说你戒行守戒非常的精进，你多闻精进，那你对佛法具有虔诚心跟上进心跟信心，特别身口意呢，你都非常的善于守护你身口意。但是如果你没有所谓的正知正念的话呢，你这些修行所得到，特别是戒行方面的功德呢，也最终呢也会被染污，也会受到染污的这个后果，也是最终会退失掉的。就是你的功德所获得的功德，始终不是纯净的，也不会长久。
Okay, so we will stop today's lesson here because our time is off. This time we have longer for the actual teaching suggested by the participants that hour and 1 hour and maybe 20 minutes for the main teaching, and then we will have 20 minutes or so for the question and answer. So now we will start with the question answer.
那现在是来到问答的时段，因为之前有人要求说这个 Khenpo 讲课的主要内容讲多一点，然后花大概15到20分钟去答课问，就是答大家的这些问题，回答大家的疑问。所以现在是问答的时段，各位有问题可以现在这时候提出来。 请问各位有问题吗？Khenpo, this question is asking about subconsciously we are afraid of something that is unknown. We are afraid of unknown. How to maintain mindfulness about our unknown, the things that we are not knowing.
I think this is where you can use mindfulness for reasoning. You have to analyze that the fear that you have, fear of something unknown, right? And so, is this a legitimate fear that you have? If so, how? You can actually first you have to establish this. You have it, but you have to revisit it and see where this is coming from. Why I have this fear of something that unknown, something that you cannot see, but it is already here with me. But where does it come from? What did I do? So this kind of investigation with the help of mindfulness and introspection also.
Khenpo 的回答，这个问题问到说，凡人对未知下意识会不由自主的恐慌或者害怕，应该维持怎么样的正念？那 Khenpo 的回答是说，你通过正念再加上一个分析的这个思维，那你就会思维去分析一下说，哎，这个我对未知的恐惧是跟我同在的。那这个未知是从何生？这种对未知的恐惧是从哪里升起的？为什么会有这种对未知的恐惧？那我应该下一步应该要怎么做？所以不断的回观自己的内心，审视或者是去探索一下为什么会有这样的这种对未知的恐惧。那加上正念的这个觉照的话，那下一步我应该要怎么做？这样就能够念知在知了了分明的去清楚，你的目前当下的这个状况，然后你这个对未知的未知事物的恐惧应该会烟消云散。
Okay, next question.
Next question, Khenpo. I wonder if there's a better word than introspection for translating to English, since introspection to me seems to mean thinking more. It may verify the idea of self.
So, yeah, it is very limited. Alertness is the other one that many people use, alertness. But I have given you the definition of what this introspection meant here, right? It meant like it is very kind of active in the sense of what needs to be done. So this like a guard, right? It's a guard. Not only like the mindfulness is the remembrance or the memory of what are the positive things to be done and what are the negative things to be avoided. So mindfulness only does that, like a memory of it's bringing forth, at front this memory very fresh. Just like keep kind of remembering us or reminding us. And then introspection makes sure that now not only memory, it doesn't kind of stay there as a memory, but now the introspection is pushing us to actually practice it. So that's why introspection is more like a wisdom that knows what is the right thing to do and what is the wrong thing to avoid, get rid of. And then it just kind of pushes us. It just enables us to go ahead and do it.
这问到这个英文这个字词这个用词方面除了 introspection 之外，会不会有更恰当的用词呢？那 Khenpo 回答说是 alertness， 就是警觉、觉知，也可以在这边用上。 因为呢，所谓的正知，这分两个部分，正念跟正知嘛。那Khenpo老师解释说，正念就是说，你知道何者应做，何者不应做，念之在之，了了分明，就是何者当舍，何者当取。这是一种回忆，就是你记起这个教法，跟你告诉你说什么是善，什么是恶的。那善者当取，恶者当舍，这个善恶分明。那你知道应该怎么做，这个是正念。那正知或者是警觉，你就确保说这是一种般若的推动的活跃的力量，能够把你往前推，就是告诉你说去做应该要做的，不去做不应该去做的。所以这方面呢，这个般若的道用在这边能够推动你往前迈进的，就是这个警觉或者正知力。所以这个正知跟正念的分别在这边，所以字词的应用也因为这两者而有所不同。Khenpo, can you give us a Tibetan word for introspection?
Okay. Yeah, I will. And also maybe Shirabla, for you, reminder.
Yeah.
The questions, please translate in Chinese, but you have forgotten to do it.
Sure.
Okay, both maybe questions that you already translated the whole answer, but the question itself, two of those questions.
OK， 这个可以 Khenpo 可以给我们这个西藏文的这个 introspection 的这个翻译是什么？藏文方面怎么说
？So Tibetan word for introspection is 细心, 谢心. So 谢 has a meaning of knowing, right? And xin is I think you can say this is a word for continuing. It's like present tense, like 谢心 it is freshly or it is actively knowing. Not something that you know before, but it's 谢心 meaning it's kind of constantly, actively knowing. That is the 谢心。
在藏文的词叫谢信，这个谢就是知道的意思，信就是持续，所以这边的信呢，就是不只是持续，它还是就是现在进行式的。我们有过去式、现在进行式跟未来式嘛，这个是现在进行式的，它是一种非常鲜活的、活跃的、持续的这个力量，不断的让我们念之在之，了了分明，就是这个正知力、警觉力。
Okay. Next question.
How to increase Khenpo, how to increase or develop mindfulness since I'm always distracted? 这个问题就问说 Khenpo 我怎么样增强我的这个正念力呢？因为我常常都会失心散乱的。
Yeah, you have to have a patience and never give up. See, that's the very simple kind of application for anything and everything. Of course, things will not be easy at first. However, Shantideva himself said, it's one of the very famous and my favorite also quotation that used by everybody or all the teachers, which is in Tibetan, which means with acquaintance, with familiarities. So, with familiarities, there's nothing that does not become easier. Everything will become easier if you are practicing it again and again, repeatedly training yourself and repeatedly, making sure that you have accustomed to it. So with this kind of thing, then even the mindfulness will clearly come to you. And then you will see that distraction, will be in the past history, particularly for you, the one who asked this question. If you persevere the practice and the training yourself.
然后Khenpo 的回答就是说呢，就是保持耐心， 不要放弃。那一切的答案就是没有离开过这个。那同时一句话，很多的老师，那吉田菩萨很多的老师，很多的僧众大德都常常用的一句话，是这样说的。吉田菩萨说，那只要多加熏习，多加熟悉，多加熟练的话，一切最后都终将得心应手，事半功倍。也就是不断的修的不要放弃，不断的熏习又熏习，不断的修持又修持的话，到最后一切自然就会得心应手，事半功倍。就是正念自然会轻而易得，正念正知自然会不请自来。到时候你所谓的，特别是问这个问题的这个人到时候你所谓的分心散乱都会成为这个过去的历史的代名词。
Okay, next question.
Kepala, this one talk about the first chapter of Bodhicharyavatara, the Bodhicitta, the foundation of Bodhicitta, and the second, third, and the fourth chapter, plus the fifth chapter of mindfulness and alertness. I don't quite understand this actually question. 可以问这个问题的人清楚一下，告诉我是什么意思吗？
Hi, you could unmute your mic for the one who asked this question.
Yeah. Li Ling Ho, I think.
Yeah, sorry. I just wonder, do we need to have the so-called the foundation of the previous, I don't know how to say this, the 第一品、第二品 until 第五品.
The first and
do we need
second.
to have the foundation first before we learn today's lesson? Yeah, I don't know. Okay, because this is the first time I come for this lesson. Then we start with the fifth, right? I mean, is that we need to have any foundation for the maybe first, second, third, fourth before we come for this lesson, or it's okay? Yeah, that's my question. I'm sorry. I don't. Yeah.
这个 Miss Lee 的问题就是说，是不是问 Khenpo 来一下，是不是我们因为他第一次参加我们的课程，那是不是说第一次就听到这个第五品就是这个正知正念呢？那是不是我们必须要先有这个第一品是菩提心的功德基础，以及第二品、第三品、第四品为基础，然后才进入今天的这个正知正念的守护等等这些。
Sure, can you maybe explain this question to me? I didn't quite understand.
Khenpo, he said that should we have the foundation of the first chapter of Bodhicharyavatara, which is Bodhicitta, plus the essential teaching of second and the third and the fourth before we enter into the teachings of mindfulness and alertness? Or we straight away go to the mindfulness training?
No, you don't have. You can straight go into the mindfulness and alertness or the introspection, because these two are needed for any kind of practice you do. And when you have a very good solid understanding of these two, or the practice of these two, how to utilize these two, that it will help when you start with the benefit of the awakening mind or the bodhicitta. Then how you can make sure that your bodhicitta is not tainted with any kind of mental afflictions.
Khenpo 的回答说是不需要的，你不需要第一品乃至于到第四品的基础前行，才直接才修这个第五品这个正知正念品，而是因为这个正知正念是一切的修法、一切的行门、一切的法门最主要的精华，所以呢比如说你要修持、你要开启菩提心的话呢，你以这个正念正知来开启菩提心的话，也能够确保你的升起的菩提心是纯正无误的，也能够确保菩提心的升起不受其他烦恼的染污。所以呢，这个正知正念是骗一切的修法的，所以不需要说先以第一到第四品等等的为基础，才来进修这个正知正念。
Okay. Then next.
What is the relationship between concentration and introspection and mindfulness?
Yeah, can you translate that?
这个专注力跟这个正知正念之间的关系为何
？Concentration as you can see, the mindfulness is just a memory, right? Something, the information that you don't forget, you keep it like alive, and that's the memory. That's called Tempa in Tibetan. So mindfulness is the English word. And then the introspection or the alertness is, as I mentioned before, the Tibetan word is shishin, which means constantly knowing, actively knowing, right? It's the second syllable, the shin, is the like a present continuity particle. So that means she or know constantly, or all the time knowing. So the concentration is like a focus, very one-pointedly concentrating on whatever that you are concentrating on. So that means you are not letting, of course, this is even mindfulness and the introspection, you don't allow them to come in. So at this time, very much like a, really like letting go of all of the concepts. And so then concentrating on whatever the focus that you are having at this time, depending on, right? Sometimes it could be conceptual thing. Sometimes maybe it is non-conceptual that you are trying to focus on. So if it is non-conceptual thing, like the emptiness or something like that, then of course you don't let anything else to distract it. You just focus on that. That's the, again, Tibetan word for that is tsechik. Tsechik meaning one point. So one pointedly focusing, and yeah, that is the concentration, right? Tsechik.
然后这边呢，就是Khenpo的回答，就是说所谓的专注力呢，我们先讲这个正念嘛，正念是一种记忆，你就是能够回忆到你所修所学的这些东西呢，你不忘失它，然后保持这个记忆的鲜明，这是 Tempa。然后呢，我们说这个正知或者警觉力嘛，是歇性，那歇之知性就是说你能够活跃的念之在之，了了分明的现在进行时的一种觉照力。你非常有警惕的所知所觉，然后呢，你所谓的这个专注力 concentration 就是把心放在一个地方，把心专注于这个对象物，自心于一处，就是非常专注、非常集中的这个意思。所以，当你对某一个对象物有起这个正念正知的时候呢，比如说你就不让其他的烦恼，不让其他的心所缘物呢能够进来的话，那你这个你专注于这个一个是概念或者非概念式的这个禅定或者对象物也好，比如说非概念性的，我们说空性嘛。当你观修空性的时候，你专注于其中，这叫接近，这是叫做一心不乱。那一心不乱就是把心安住在某一个对象物呢，念之在之，了了分明，不会散乱。这个意思都是这三者的关系基本上就是这样了。This question I think that's all, Khenpo. The other question is about the text, Khenpo. The text which is shown on the screen, is it available as a book? If possible, can we get the ISBN of and the title, please?
Do you mean the text that I had shown last time?
Yeah, the text in this that we are explaining today, Khenpo.
Oh.
The Bodhicharyavatara.
The root text, right?
Yeah, the root text, yeah.
Okay. Yes, ISBN. I just read it, or what do we show it to you, or maybe
EJ can.
Khenpo, could you maybe Lama Noble could send it to me, and I could type it to the chat room next lesson, or you could private message me. I will type my WhatsApp to the chat room.
Okay. I already asked Lama Noble. He just took it and he's going to send it to Ernst. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Khenpo, one last question. Does analysis belong to mindfulness or alertness?
No, it is a totally different thing. Analysis is wisdom. It's the mental factor, the nature of the mental factor itself is a different thing, right? Because mindfulness is memory or remembrance, and xixing or the introspection is also belonging to wisdom, the knowledge part. So the analysis is also actively kind of investigating, analyzing things, which is also wisdom. It's the shirap aspect of it.
OK， 那这边这个问题说，请问分析应该不应该是正念呢，还是属于正知方面呢？那Khenpo老师分析是主要是属于智慧方面的一种所起的这个作用，是一种心所般若心所的启用。那正念我们之前所说了是一种记忆嘛，是鲜活的记忆。再是觉性，就是一种智慧方面的灵活、活灵活现的鲜活的现在进行式的一种方式，这个叫做正知，正知或者保持警觉。然后在这边讲这两个之后，最后就是分析也是属于一种般若的道用，就是说你通过智慧呢，来细细的去考究、去分析这个事物的本来的面目。那这边的分析的智慧就是shut up， 就是藏文叫 shut up。
So, although as I just said, maybe introspection and the analysis, they belong to the same kind of category of knowledge or the wisdom, but their function is different. See, the introspection, what it does, it has the knowledge, it knows, and then it's just kind of utilizing its knowledge consistently and all the time without lapsing or without any break. But analysis is really constantly and also very busy with analyzing, developing knowledge after knowledge of kind of covering things that is maybe not known before. Now you just uncover and then discover new knowledge, right? So this is the function of these two are different, but they belong to the same category of maybe the wisdom mental factor.
所以虽然我们说这个正知跟分析这两者属于这个般若的智慧的同一个方面，是 shut up 这方面的，可是这个正知方面呢，它是保有一种知识、一种认知，它确保这个认知是念之在之、了了分明的，然后持续的、不退散的，去确保这个前进的动力，说应该做的去做，不应该做的不去取这样子。那可是这个分析呢，分析是智慧的道用、智慧的作用的时候，它是能够不断的发现新的事物的，它不断的发现鲜活的或者是揭露一些新的东西，不断的去探索，不断的去发现。所以这两者虽然正知跟这个分析是属于同样的这个智慧方面的作用，可是它们的作用是各不相同的，它属于同一个功德的不同的发挥跟作用。Khenpo, there's another questions. When we talk about mindfulness and alertness, but in practically speaking, in our life, there's many things that is in a gray area, not exactly black or white, but how should we treat this kind of thing, like in the gray area kind of topics or issues in our life?
So if that who asked the question can give me example of what is this gray area that he or she is referring to?
Actually, it's me, because I think many kind of social issue or cultural conflict issue have this kind of problem, or sometimes we may face some kind of ethical dilemma.
这个一切的问题就是说，它关于一些社会的冲突啊，文化上的这个不同的意见呢，有时候我们会觉得两难，不知道应该怎么做，怎么下手。一些面对这些非黑即白的，有些事情不是非黑即白的，很多是灰色地带的。那我们应该如何自处呢？
Okay, So when you are in this kind of situation, then the thing that you must do is first, calm down is very important, calming down. In order to do that, calming down, also you need the help of mindfulness and the introspection, right? Without this, then your calm down will not be a very proper one, or it can also collapse anytime. So with this, the help of these two, your calm down, calming your mind, the state of the calmness of your mind will be a kind of steady, right? With this steadiness of the calm down of your mind, then now you have to use the analytical thinking, analytical investigation of this gray area of whatever the issue might be. That you really have to now, you cannot let yourself linger in this kind of undecided situation. You have to make sure that what is it? So this dilemma that you have to go, you have to determine, you have to make sure that you have the answer, or in other words, you have the, you know this situation now quite clearly. In other words, you gain wisdom on that.
所以呢，首先呢 ，Khenpo 的回答是，首先必须要让我们的心思先冷静下来。那为了让心思能够彻底的稳固的冷静下来呢，正念正知的这个训练跟这个讯息，在这边是显得非常的举足轻重了。那正念正知的重要性呢，真是不言而喻，因为它能够让你升起的这个冷静力呢，是正确的，是稳定的，而不是升起一下等一下就没有了。所以呢，当你冷静下来，有了这个冷静的稳定的力量之后呢，再让我们的智慧取这个觉照下来就是要进一步的去分析，做一些分析的思考，对这个灰色的地带的课题或者议题呢，进行一些冷静的、有智慧的分析思考。那下来你就觉得，因为你不可能永远都在灰色地带永远是保持说我不要做决定，我不要做取舍。所以就这样呢，做了智慧的冷静的分析跟思考之后呢，你就能够有这个决断力，去决定说下一步你应该要怎么做，应该怎么用你的智慧去觉照，然后呢，去做对下一步的行动有所取舍。这个就是智慧的作用了。
So in other words, I think you have to gain knowledge on these issues, right? The knowledge will free you from entanglement or whatever. But sometimes, depending on this issue that you are talking about, sometimes even through this kind of analytical examination, you may not be able to resolve it. So some of the things that are far beyond our ordinary, mental kind of capacity of knowing it at this time. So for that, then again, you have to be patient and you have to then seek, blessings from the deities and say, may I gain more wisdom so that I will be able to entangle these unanswered, unresolved issues that I have. So with the help of deities, with the help of my own kind of purification of my own kind of, confusion, ignorance, and so forth, then one day, even those unanswered or unresolved issues will be resolved.
然后 Khenpo 的再进一步说，就是说，这个有时候要看课题。那有时候即便是我们经过把心冷静下来，用智慧觉照力去分析、去思考之后，我们还是对一些解不了的课题呢，还是毫无所解，就是没有得到一个解答，一个完全的解答或者说是答案。因为有些事情、有一些课题是我们凡夫的心力之外的，是我们不能够掌控的。那无可否认会有这样的情形的出现。那这个时候我们应该要怎么做呢？Khenpo 的回答就是说，这时候也是跟之前所一样的，要忍耐，不要放弃。那同时我们可以祈请或者祈求本尊的加持。那经过本尊的加持之后呢，希望我们能够升起觉照的，更稳固的这个智慧力，以便我们能够远离或者是从这个 课题的缠绕中得到解脱跟这个自由。那祈求本尊给我们加持，希望我们染污日渐的减少，染污迷惑跟依次之间的减少，到最后呢，能够升起这个有决断力的、有取舍力的这个大智大慧。这样的话，即便是之前看来不可解的课题，到最后呢，也终将因为本尊的加持而得到了圆满的解答，或者是圆满的答案。
Okay, then maybe the last question.
还有没有最后的问题呢？最后一个问题有没有呢？Still question now, Khenpo.
Okay, so then we can do the dedication.
好，现在我们因为没有问题的话，我们就先做这功德回向。
Sonam diya tamje sipa nye topne nyebe dana pamche ne diga na che bala chupa ye sibe sole dowa andolwara shu. Thank you.